Hi, my name is Mel, and I work for NOAA's Olympic Coast National Marine Sanctuary as an AmeriCorps. Olympic Coast National Marine Sanctuary is one of the most productive and diverse ecosystems in the world, and it's right in our backyard. Working for Olympic Coast National Marine Sanctuary means we work to protect the habitats and resources of the Olympic Coast through science, service, and stewardship. One of the things we talk about is marine debris. Did you know our ocean is full of things that don't belong? Huge amounts of plastics, metals, rubber, fabric, and other human-made items make their way into the ocean every single day. We call this marine debris, and it is a global problem. However, working locally is sometimes the best way to protect our ocean. The sanctuary works closely with partners like Washington Coast Savers to conduct big beach cleanups like the Washington Coastal Cleanup that happens every year right around Earth Day. But there are other things that you can do right from your home that can help keep our ocean free of debris. In order to prevent marine debris, we can all reduce, reuse, and recycle. Today, I'm going to uphold those principles by repurposing some recyclables in order to make sure that you have your own bird books and bird feeders. All right, so the first step is to organize the materials that you're going to need for these projects. For the bird book, you want to set aside a paper bag, some scissors, a pen or a pencil, a hole puncher, and some string. If you don't have a hole puncher or string, you can actually use glue or a stapler or even a needle and thread. These objects are just so that you can bind your book when you start making your bird book. And then for your bird feeder, you're going to want the scissors again, some bird seed. I chose sunflower seeds. They're a good universal bird seed. And then an egg carton. We go through a lot of eggs. All right, so for the first thing for your bird book, you're going to want to prep your bag. So first, pull off the handles of the paper bag. Next, you're going to want to cut along the big side of this paper bag. If you're young and you don't have a lot of experience using scissors, please ask an adult to help. I'm sure they'd be glad to help. All right, so let's cut along the sides. There's one side. Now for the bottom. All right, so we have our paper bag. Now the next step is going to be to fold this paper bag in half. So you're going to take it in half, hot dog style. Go ahead and make a nice crease. I use my thumb or my fingernails to make this crease. You want a good crease for the spine, because that's actually where you're going to cut your pages apart. Or sorry, not the spine, the seam. And then you're going to actually fold them in half again. And again, use your fingernails to create a nice crease. All right, so this is essentially the size of our bird book. You're going to notice that the pages are not separate pages. They're connected at the top because of that seam. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to take your scissors, and you're going to cut along the top pages to separate them out. Make sure you stop cutting right before you get to where the spine would be. So there we go. We have individual pages for our bird book. Now the next step is going to be to figure out how we're going to bind our book. So if you don't have a hole puncher or a single hole puncher or 3-ring or some string, this is going to be where you would want to use some glue. What you would do is if you wanted to use glue, you'll put the glue in the very center of the seam of your book, and then you'll connect your pages like this and make sure you don't want to glue any of the pages together. For the people that have a hole puncher, make sure your seam is nice and good. That way it'll fit in your hole puncher. And then you're going to push it through the hole puncher and try to make it so that both ends line up. And there we go, we have our hole punch. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your string and you're going to thread it through the holes of your book. And I personally think it looks really good with 2 layers of string. You could do just 1. You could do a whole bunch of times depending on the thickness of your string. Realistically, use the materials that you have and give it your own personal flair. All right, so make sure you tie it off. And I just chose to do an overhand knot. Put it down. You could also do a bow if you wanted to get creative. So there's my knot. It's not very pretty. So if you want to make it look a little bit nicer, you can cut off the edges. There we go. There we go. All right, voila. So now we have a full bird book, but it doesn't have anything that identifies it as a bird book, right? So the next step is going to be to make it a scientific bird book. So for your first page, once you open it up, there we go. Go ahead and separate the top half to be where you're going to draw your birds that you can observe in your garden. The bottom half is going to have some lines for your observations. So I'm going to go ahead and draw those. And this is what they should look like. So here's the top half with a square so you can draw your birds. And here's the bottom half. Oops. Here's the bottom half of your observations. Oops. All right. So then the next step is really fun. You get to go out in your backyard or look out your window and look for birds that you can see and observe. And then you're going to draw them, or you're going to observe them and write down the observations that you make. It's going to look something like this. There we go. So there's the bird I observed in the garden, and here are my observations. And if you write good enough observations, you can actually go online and look at what those birds and observations might actually tell you about what the type of bird is. All right, so the next step is going to be making those bird feeders. Now, if you don't have a lot of birds that frequent your home, a bird feeder is a good way to attract them to your house. So again, for our supplies, we're going to have this egg carton, our string, and a scissor, and our sunflower seeds. So for my egg carton, I actually cut out 6 squares right in here. Oops, right in here. And that's going to look something like this. Then you're going to take your scissors, and my egg cartons have little high ridges in the center. Yours might not, but if they do, what I ended up doing was I put my holes right in the center. If yours don't have the high ridges, you could actually put your holes on the sides right here, right here, right here, and right here. If you have just the 2 holes, feel free to follow along. What you're going to do is you're going to take your string and you're going to feed it through the hole. There we go. Oh. Need a steady hand to feed it through the hole. There we go. All right. So that's essentially going to be our bird feeder. Now I'm just doing an overhand on a bite, which just makes that loop. You could do any type of knot you want. This is just going to be what's going to hang our bird feeder. And then if you didn't have these holes, you'll just string 2 separate strands through the opposite sides of your container. Then the next step is to put the bird seed in. All right. And there we go. So that's the bird seed. Whoops. We fed the birds on the floor. So that's the bird seed for our bird container. And then all you have to do is you have to hang up and wait for the birds to come. All right, thank you for joining us today. I hope you have a lovely Earth Day. Take care.